All right, guys, here with Nate to talk about the league, and Nate is with us. Dan is no longer with us, and so Nate's come in and really just wanted to get with you this week and talk about, like I just said 2 seconds ago, right? The league, where it's at, your thoughts on your team, your thoughts on the league, all that good stuff. Talk about you and Morgan a little bit, all that. So overall, I guess just tell us about you. Like, what do you like to do for fun? Hobbies, interests? How did you get into fantasy? How long? All the basic stuff. Whatever you feel like saying.
Yeah, so I've been into football and specifically fantasy football probably at least off and on since like 2011. I'm turning 30 this year.
Hell yeah.
So that was like about senior year of high school, or junior year. Uh, didn't really get latched into kind of some leagues that I think that are going to be like forever leagues
Hmm.
until like just a couple years ago. Because I grew up in a small town in western Wisconsin. That's where I met Morgan in high school. Uh, I think it's a cool nickname, so I don't mind outing him on this. But the nickname we had him for him in high school was Turbo.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
it's a cool nickname, Morgan. So don't be mad. Um, and then they called me Krenzy, if that helps.
Frenzy.
Uh,
Okay, so they're Krenz. Okay, gotcha.
yeah. And then so after high school, I studied film and radio, TV, film in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Um, I worked for USA Football after that with video
Okay.
production. So that's like based in Indianapolis. So that's like the office where literally if football was an Olympic sport, that's where the headquarters would be.
Right.
So it was like the governing body of football. So we did some cool shit. Like I did helped run a video interview with Chad Pennington. Um, Met all kinds of people there. I went to multiple NFL combines. Um, uh, met the Packers GM a couple times there too. Brian Gutekunst.
Yeah, yeah.
Just really cool place. I really hope that they keep the combine in a place like Indianapolis and not
Yeah.
like fucking Vegas like they're going to in a couple years.
Oh,
But
is that what they're doing? I feel like that's just always been in India, and that's like that's just what it is almost. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I that's they were trying to make it go to Indy already in 2025, but they've at least delayed it that far that at least in 2025 it's still in Indy, but they're trying to bring it to Vegas.
Yeah, I guess
Trying
just
really hard to make it a Vegas thing.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's gonna be like that with a lot of stuff, which kind of sucks. You know, like I get the idea of like going to Vegas and everything, but I don't know. Part of me just feels like not that it's overdone, but Lucas Oil Stadium is great. Like just it's all good.
Hmm.
Like you don't. It's not broken. It doesn't need to be
Yeah,
changed or improved or anything. You know. Um,
yeah, and it's such like a good. It's kind of like Burning Man for football a little bit, like
yeah. Yeah.
where like you'll just drive downtown in the morning, and I'm like, oh, there's Ron Rivera, there's fucking that play. Like I've seen like all
Yeah.
sorts of coaches over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Um, and then after college, or sorry, after that gig basically dried up because they didn't want to keep a lot of full timers on for video at the time.
Hmm.
So when that gig dried up, I moved to Madison for a while. Basically, did like just some shitty jobs there for a year in 2019, and then I moved back home in 2020, like a couple months before the pandemic. And then so that was kind of lucky and unlucky at the same time because
Right.
I was at least home when that shit hit, but then like I was also stuck at home when that shit hit. And then that summer, I actually roomed up with Morgan for like the summer, so that was tolerable. Due
Tolerable.
to that, yes, tolerable due to that. Got a break from my fucking parents.
Yeah.
Um, and then as soon as I could, once things started opening up again, my first job caught a job out in Green Bay where we basically edited old video footage, like old home videos. Um, so like weddings, childbirths, things like that. Um, and then after that or while I was doing that gig, both for my own entertainment but also for extra money, I got a job working for the Packers Hall of Fame here in Green Bay.
That's cool.
So that's where I met a group of guys there that they have a really solid foundation for fantasy teams.
Yeah.
So I'm in a dynasty league that's an 8-team league, and a redraft league that's a 14-team league. Out of those guys, those are, before this one, would be my only other leagues.
Right.
Now I've won in both of those leagues, and the most impressive fantasy football season, I'll kind of end it on this. Most impressive fantasy football season I've ever had. In the 8-team league, I started 1-8.
Hell yeah.
And then I rattled off 6 regular season wins in a row to finish 7-8, which
Right.
basically squeaked me into the playoffs. And then I beat the number 1 seed in the first round of the playoffs, and then I won the championship.
You just took it
And
home.
that league was a $700 payout for the winner.
Nice.
So that was a fucking miracle. Like, I made my run the table championship ring and shit.
Right.
After the Packers job, I basically quit that job and went into retail sales for furniture, and then moved on from that to selling Medicare, which is much more profitable and is hybrid. So I'm only in the office 2 days a week.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's the
You said this is
about
like
me.
Super Bowl week for you, right? Where it's just things are going crazy. So I appreciate you making the time to just hang out with us for a few minutes and get this going.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thankfully, last year was even busier. Like, we were working overtime, like on Sundays. We were working at least 6 days a week.
Mhm.
This year seems at least chill enough that they're not asking us to work Sundays, and almost every Saturday we don't have to work.
Nice.
So it's
Yeah.
it's just going to be busy overtime kind of during the week,
Which is
kind
nice,
of
but
working
it's
like
not gonna
8
like
to 8,
kill you.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. I've got to know about Turbo. I've got to know where that nickname comes from and if it's something we can use against Morgan.
So
yeah.
he should, and when he listens to this, like, I don't call him it all the time, but like I think it's endearing. Anyway, it's because it's more ironic because, like, he wouldn't be considered the fastest person in the world, but he's like agile, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Like back in like gym classes, like, he's not winning any long distance runs, right? But like for like a first 5 yards, like, he's probably quicker than me,
Okay.
And it started ironic, but it's like, I don't know, people just like call him Turbo sometimes. At least like those friends from high school, which are
Yeah.
probably like 3 people now. But yeah,
The ones that are in.
yeah.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Well, cool. Yeah. Hopefully he hates it so we can use it, but I'm sure he'll love it.
He'll hate it at a proper level where
Well, he
if
hates
he
everything
gets
at a
mad,
proper
it's
level
not
in
like
his defense.
harassment, but it's like,
Yeah.
you could still bother him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The fine line of it's not going to piss him off, and we can use it against him, which is perfect. So what is it about? So we talked, a while ago. We had thought that you were going to take over a different team, and you're here now. What is it about this league that made you want to do it? Because you were also in the 32 team league with Morgan, that's salary cap. So what is it about these more complex leagues that interests you?
I like kind of touching on like the realism, or at least, and I also like, with all the redraft leagues, there's sometimes players that are like your favorite fucking players to draft that, you draft them in their prime. Like, I remember drafting Travis Kelce as a rookie in like 2013 and getting so mad at Andy Reid because they were playing Anthony fucking Fasano instead. ahead of him just because Fasano was a little bit of a better blocker when Kelsey was a rookie, but like Kelsey was clearly better. The eye test, literally every test, and I was like, man, I just wish I had Kelsey next year. And then that's when he really started going off. So like that's
Right.
one example is like just being able to keep some of my favorite players, and you know, being able to like start something over from the bottom up. That's basically my plan for this team, essentially. Like from what I've looked at, basically my only untouchable player that don't even bother me sending me a like a
Gotta be
trade
who I think it is.
for is like Love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotta
Um,
be.
because and I also am not in a super flex right now, so it'd be cool to be in a super flex. Um, but basically my method is that I'm willing to not necessarily get, I want to get as much value as I can, like, and if there's the highest bidder, like that factors in. But what I want to do, I think the bigger sin is to not do anything and just let the league just stay where it stays static. I'd rather, trade a good player that like I'll eat the salary cap, or I'll trade the player for a little less than what a lot of other people might trade him for, um, to get the deal done and to make that happen. For example, in my redraft league with the guys from the Packers Hall of Fame, uh, you can, even though it's a redraft league, you can still trade for a future pick, but you would just do a swap. So you would be like, so like my first year in that league, I traded Alvin Kamara for a pick swap. So I moved like my 15th rounder up to like a 7th rounder or something
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then I traded like Kamara for like my worst player, because I knew I was going to lose.
Right.
And basically built up like that. Ended up having like two, yeah, I think it was 2 second rounders. So basically, my second year in the league, I had a very very strong team, and then I went win now hard and just made it silly,
Yeah.
and then I ended up winning the championship. And then
Yeah.
the next year, I just sucked. Like I knew I was going to be like the punishment. I knew I was going to be last, but it was still worth it to me because
Because you won the
it's like
year prior.
it's like a 2 or 3 year plan thing.
Yeah.
And then last year, this is an example, okay? But you guys aren't going to fleece me like this league fleeced me last year, because it still worked out in my favor. I'll explain why. um, Last year, even though I was sucking, I was telling people, I was like right up to the deadline, I was like telling people, like, you guys, it's a fire sale. Like, even move my 16th pick to, a 13th, and I'll give you a good player.
Yeah.
Like, I have
You're like, it's over.
three.
I'm just trying to get my things. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get ready for next year and make it happen. And the guy that ended up winning the championship was like one of the only guys that communicated with me, and he sent me a 16th, like a 16th rounder, and moved it up for like a 13th for like Brian Robinson Jr. And like it was just, I made a couple more picks kind of like that, where I just moved up for like an 8th, or moved a 10th to an 8th, something like that.
Yeah.
Modest improvements. Now this next year, I have the number 1 overall pick, right? And I did not like the prospects or the tea leaves on McCaffrey. Like, it was before anything was officially
Yeah.
like where he was out. Like, we knew he was probably going to miss week 1 and maybe week 2, but that was about it. And I didn't really like Brees Hall's prospects, because I figured like they would be throwing more, and they just drafted another running back. And then Bijan, I kind of liked, but I liked some of the mid-tier running backs like Henry and Barkley and Mixon anyway.
Mhm.
Um, so I asked around, and I found a guy that had 2 third-round picks, or 2 spare third-round picks. I think he had 3 total. And I was like, okay, if I trade down with you to like pick 7, do you want the number 1 overall pick, and you can have like a couple of your thirds? We did that, and now he is at the basement of the league,
I was about to
and
say you're probably fucking laughing your ass off. Yeah.
I'm 5-1, and I'm going to beat him this week specifically to go 6-1 or whatever it is.
Yeah, man.
So
I'm with you. Like I think that trading and talking is like the most important things. It's almost ironic you're taking over the team that has been a black hole for some of those offers, and you've got some fun, interesting decisions to make with a lot of your players, and you already kind of made that one with Amari Cooper. I don't know how much of the league chat you saw after that trade. Do you have any thoughts on your perspective for that trade? Because a lot of people were very favoring the opposite side of that deal. After reading that at all, or thinking about it more, are you still happy with how that trade went, or do you
I'm
wish you
still
got more
pleased.
shopped
I mean,
it? Or
maybe I could have snagged like another fourth rounder or pushed it up to a second, but I don't think the guy I was trading with had a second, if I recall. And I knew it wasn't going to go for a first, more likely than not. And like I said, like the worst move is no move. So, what I would just not want to happen is him to die on my roster. Now, the thing is I still have players like Cooper Kupp and players like Aaron Rodgers that in my mind are tradable, but they're going to have a little bit of a higher price tag, not only because they're a little, I think even short term, they're a little better than Amari Cooper.
yeah, absolutely.
Once Kupp gets back on the field, and
Yep.
being a super league, Rodgers is valuable. Not only that, but like I also still, with the understanding that I'm probably not going to win the soup or the toilet bowl. So I'm probably going to have a pick that's not top, but still like 3 or 4,
Yeah, you got 103 probably. You haven't seen, unless you've looked at my roster specifically, you'll be very comfortable at 103. My
Okay.
team's pretty rough.
See, and that's okay. I mean, Bryce Young would have been probably a top 3 pick for you guys last year. So
Yeah,
like
very true.
things happen in the draft too, to where a 1-1 isn't a sure deal. So like I'm okay with losing a little bit value just to guarantee some value.
Yeah.
And I'm very much targeting 2026 for reasons I won't disclose for first round picks is what I would say. I probably value 2026 first round picks even more than 2025. So people that where that fits your schedule, give me a call about Kupp, give me a call about Rodgers, give me a call about
JT.
JT. Yep, JT.
Yeah.
Those are really
Keenan
the big
Allen,
3
yeah.
dragons right now. Unless anybody finds something else that's useful that you would trade like something small for, like a fourth, because I do need power in numbers too, not just quality.
Yeah.
Really, the untouchable ones are Love and probably Jake Ferguson, because Ferguson's contract is so good.
You're
It's
welcome.
like, yep, it's like
That's
$10
from me. Yeah.
like 2028 or something. So
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
yeah,
One of the
so
best.
I'm
One
not
of the best
I have
tight
no
end
reason
contracts.
to move Ferguson. No reason
Yeah.
for that.
Now I've got bad news for you. There's a bit of a curse in our league where when I say that someone is the best contract in the league, it ends up coming to bite them in the ass. It happened with 2 people. I think one was Daniel Jones when so Flynn signed Daniel Jones right after he got extended by the. It was like right after the extension from the Giants. I said that Daniel Jones was the best quarterback contract in the league, and now he's miserable. Jordan Love is the best contract in the league by a long shot. So you've got rookies from this last year, like J.J. McCarthy, what's his name? Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. They're making more this year than Jordan Love will be in 2025, 2026. How reassuring was that, seeing that you've got the quarterback to your favorite franchise team on a piss cheap deal? I mean, there are backup quarterbacks in the league making more money than than
It,
Love in this format. How great is
to
that for
me,
you?
to me, it was like frosting on the cake that it was my favorite team. But even if it was somebody, say like Joe Burrow, like I don't see a world where Joe Burrow's on a cheap contract because he was good
Nope.
from the jump. But like, let's just say somebody got him on a cheap contract, like on an injured year or something. Uh, I'd be just as happy with that. It's really like the contract that makes that stick. That's one thing that in the future I'll need, a little bit of, maybe some unbiased assistance that I'd be asking from, Morgan potentially, and then also, obviously the commissioner, to just kind of get a good idea of like, what the rules are for re-signing. Because I know that
Yep.
sometimes if a player is good enough, they may, renegotiate, right? So
Yeah,
like,
the holdouts and all
um,
that. But
so
I
yeah,
don't
he
think
he warned
Love's
me a little
there.
bit about that. So that's just something I want to be on top of, like by at least like maybe hopefully like a year ahead of time, so I
Yep.
I have time to prepare for that kind of thing. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, to put it in perspective for you, just for fun, Morgan is paying Trevor Lawrence 212 this year. 59 is being paid to Tua Tagovailoa, 12 to Gardner Minshew, and 21 next year for Minshew. The exact same deal as Love. 25 to Fields this year, 204 to Herbert this year. Burrow, who's another name you mentioned, he's all the way down here. Is 151 this year, 353 next year. So you really do have a top 10 quarterback on as cheap a deal as I feel like you can get. So, and like you said, it's just a kicker that it's your guy. Um, that will do it for us. Quite literally out of time. Anything else you want to talk about, discuss, go over? Final thoughts on your end as we wrap this up here.
No, I'm excited. I'm looking to basically, even if I gotta eat the salary this year, like I'm not in it to win it this year anyway. I'm not going to be making big free agency moves. I'm not going to be making um, big contract player ads. So salary, as long as I just get help keeping track that I'm not going over anything, but I'm only adding basic, tiny waiver ads. I can eat some salary this year, for sure, and then next year, in a lot of cases, depending on what I'm offered, I'd be willing to eat some salary too for some of those bigger names. Just keep in mind, some of the value that I'm going to be giving up is basically going to totally screw me for the toilet bowl. Like if I get Rodgers traded, which I plan to, I'm not going to have a quarterback too. Like Jake Browning's my quarterback too.
Oh
So
yeah.
so I'm going to be losing the toilet bowl. So with that or third. So with that understanding, that's where I want to jump off from. And like I said, I am targeting first round 2026.
Sweet. All right, cool. Good plugs for yourself too. Hopefully, some more stuff comes of this. That'll do it for us this week. Thanks, Nate, for coming and hanging out. And we will talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great one, man.
You too.